Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I hope all of you are doing fantastic. It is the end of an era. I've been wanting to make this video for almost a year now, and it feels so rewarding to be sitting down recording it. So not only is it the end of an era for certain coverage here on the channel in a more, I guess, figurative sense. We're going to continue to talk about Starfield for a long while, but the fact that it's coming out is so surreal. Naturally, as I mentioned in my last video, I did get a review code. I want to share some of my content plans, but I also want to get personal in this video because it's the end of an era on a personal level for the last month or so. And even in the last 10 months, I've been going through something health-wise, which I have talked a bit about on Defining Duke and here on this channel, that I just didn't want to leave too many people hanging on. I wanted to give clarity to all of that and just give a sense of finality to what has been a long, arduous chapter in my life, and just reflect a lot here. It's really important to me that I do this, so thank you if you've lent me some of your time here today. Let's not delay any further. If you don't care about my health or my life or any of that stuff, no offense taken at all. I'm happy to just get into Starfield here at the front of the video. So if you're wondering what I'm gonna do with that ye old review code, let me break it down for you. I naturally learned my lesson back in 2015 with Fallout 4 when I got Fallout 4 the weekend before the embargo was up, and I pumped out some crappy review, which was one of the best lessons Matty could have learned at a young age. I think I was 18 at the time of dropping that, and here I am, 28 years old, and just a lot more wise, so to say, as a reviewer. So what I'm doing when it comes to Starfield is I'm planning preview / impressions for when the embargo lifts on August 31st at 12 p.m. Eastern time, or whatever your regional equivalent is. The reason being two things. Number one, just like many of you, I've waited forever for this game. The first video that I have that I could find here on this channel of us talking directly about Starfield and its first lead was July 2nd, 2016, with Star Wars Force Unleashed gameplay in the background, because we had no star anything to put next to that video. It was just like, all right, Star Wars, I guess. So yeah, it's been a long road. I don't rush my reviews in general, but especially when it comes to a Bethesda Game Studios game that's been so long in the making, so much coverage, just like many of you. I'm a fan. I'm going to do right by you by providing you a lot of coverage. If I could draw a comparison, one that many of you were totally cool with and really enjoyed, Elden Ring. Elden Ring was such a massive game, and I expect Starfield to be equally as massive, that I put about 50, 60 hours into Elden Ring and made my impression / preview at the time of the embargo lifting. And then there was the final verdict video I did when I put 100+ hours into the game. Starfield's going to get the same treatment. We did the same thing with Baldur's Gate 3, impressions at launch, and then we'll do a final verdict later on. This is my way of making sure that I can get stuff out in time for embargo while still balancing other games I'm reviewing, which are three now. We just dropped a review for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk over on Retro Rebound. Please check it out, by the way. That game should not be slept on. It is so good, man, especially if you're a Jet Set fan. Oh my God, you're going to love it. But anyway, yeah, we have a lot of other games we're reviewing right now. I want to give them the attention, time, and respect that they deserve at the same time as reviewing Starfield and doing what's healthy for the channel, doing what's healthy for all of you, and what's healthy for me, as well as a fan, not rushing it at all, which every game, I think, deserves when you're sitting down and reviewing it. That's the plan for Starfield, preview, review-wise. You've seen me do it before. I just wanted to provide clarity for it. And I think with the scope of this game, I'm hoping that a lot of people do just call it impressions, because I feel like this game is going to need a lot of time sunk into it for us to really get a true review out. So I'm just getting ahead of the game and doing what I think should be done in the first place. So with that, what else will I be doing? Of course, your standard news, post-launch coverage. You've seen, again, what we've done with Baldur's Gate 3, the conversations surrounding the game we'll talk about, the news, the patches, the added features, the DLC, the expansions. We're going to be all over that stuff as per usual that you'd expect. Anything Bethesda, we're going to be on top of. None of that stuff is stopping. I know you've all come to expect that, but just to make sure it's nice and clear. When it comes to the game itself, I definitely want to do a little bit of what we did for Baldur's Gate 3. That was a good test bed for me, like 10 things I wish I knew before starting. We don't usually do tip videos here, but I had a lot of fun making that, and the reception was fantastic. So I want to do that again for Starfield, and then if it does really well, we can do 10 more tips and so on and so forth. That would be a nice series to kind of have under our belt, because I enjoy delivering tips and tricks. That's actually my roots as a YouTuber, so it's kind of fun to go back to the origin of Matty, or really Glitcher27. That was the first channel, which unfortunately you can't even find that channel anymore because the YouTube copyright boys got that one taken down. But nonetheless, that's the plan. Maybe your occasional build guide. I want to give that a shot, but I'm open to suggestions on top of all of that. You know, we're going to do an everything we know so far video ahead of the launch, just to kind of collect everything into one video and give you that kind of last final information dump to prepare yourself for the release of Starfield. But nonetheless, those are the Starfield content plans, and I'm open to any more suggestions you may have on things you want to see, because there are certainly ways we can diversify. So that's the end of one era, right? Like Starfield, this is it. It's happening. It's actually coming out. It's actually going to be playable for reviewers and so on and so forth. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the end of a personal era. As you've already seen, the set has changed here. The set has dramatically changed on Retro Rebound, which I am so proud of. I think my fiance and I did a wonderful job capturing that 90s bedroom feel while also having a fully produced video. We put a lot more effort into the content there now than we did beforehand, and I think it just looks better, it feels better, we have a better flow. Just if you haven't checked out the channel, I'm not trying to plug too hard here because I know there's more important things to get to, but seriously, I think y'all would really enjoy it. It's a great nostalgia trip, and I think that set really brings things full circle, and we still have more that we want to do with the channel, which I will show in due time. But anyway, you've seen the new sets. Yeah, I moved out of my childhood home. I'm living now with my fiance here, and it's been wonderful. The initial leap, though, I never went away to college. I personally went to a community college growing up, so I've always lived at home with my family. Everything I ever needed, or my friends, my shopping, family, everything, even my grandma lived right around the corner from me. Everything was within a 5-minute radius. No joke. Like I had it really good, and I completely recognized that, and I was very lucky. And so for me, getting up and moving even an hour away from everything was really difficult. Probably the toughest part of it all was leaving behind my dog, Revan. You know, the name sells it, right? Revan. That was tough, but since I'm leaving the home, my brother's leaving the home, my parents had a really strong connection with Revan, and it was kind of like, who do I want to have suffer here? Should I have my parents, who are going to be very upset that both their sons are leaving the house around the same time, have Revan, or can I stomach the pain, and should they just have Revan? And so as much as I would love to have Revan here with me, you know, that's my best friend, man. He's being a good best friend and taking care of my parents. So I left him at home. That was the toughest part to grapple. The other tough part that broke me was really seeing my childhood room completely disassembled. I've had a lot of time to spend in there, 20 years. I'm 28 now. I moved in that house when I was 8. So just to see it completely taken apart with all its decorations and personality stripped bare was just really tough to see. And then even my office, you know, we filmed out of an office space, which was the biggest chance I took on myself. It was not cheap to rent the place, you know, rent in New York, not cheap. So it was a big risk to take, but I wanted to take a bet on myself because I wanted to create a healthy work-life balance, working out of my home and creating good motivation and a workspace. And that's where Retro Rebound was born. That's the video game I'm working on. That's where it was born. That place gave me so much potential to be creative and think beyond my own personal boundaries. And I'm just so grateful, and I'll always remember that place fondly, man. It's crazy to get intimate about a place, a location, but truly I owe it everything. I feel like without it, we wouldn't have upgraded the audio quality, the visual quality. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of it just wasn't good enough to get to that next level. And so with your support, we managed to get there, and I'm really proud of that. You know, I don't say it often. I don't like to stroke my ego because I try to keep things humble, but if I could say I'm proud of myself about one thing, it's really that office, and that I made something of myself through that and the hard work I've continued to put in. So again, thank you to all of you who have supported me enough to make that even a thought in my head. So that was the end of another era. And then the other one, the one that's really hung over my head that you may have heard me talk about in passing, like a good example is my Lord of the Rings Gollum video, where I started off saying like, I've had a horrible day. Yeah, so what's been happening is since November of last year, actually funny enough, the week I got engaged, I've had really bad balance issues. So the way I would describe it to you all is typically right now, fortunately, we're fighting it all off, and I'll break down why and how I've found some clarity in my life. What would happen is if I was looking at this camera, it would be going like this. It would be like it's on a wave. And whenever I'm standing, it's like I'm trying to fight for balance. It has been extremely difficult to live with. And especially not knowing what it is, and a lot of doctors thinking you have a brain tumor, it was very anxiety inducing. And so to wait as long as I did for answers was not because I was trying to hold things up or scared of the reality check I may receive. It was because of a series of tests I had to go through. So for those who don't know, I struggle a lot with motion sensitivity since I was a little kid. Like, I got off a ferry and I felt like I was on a boat for 2 days. I got off a plane at E3 2016 and I realized I have to take Dramamine before every flight because I felt like I was just on the plane for days afterwards. And that's always been my thing. So I went to Skyline Tower after I got engaged to my now fiance, and it was a beautiful night, wonderful place. The staff there was really classy, and overheard that we got engaged and gave us a little piece of cake, which was, again, classy move. Really loved that place. But I had not in years been up in an elevated area that was moving in quite some time. And so, yeah, that set me off completely. So the next day I wake up and I'm like, why do I feel off right now? Very off. Like, I just got engaged. I should be feeling fire right now. But I quite frankly didn't on a physical level. I felt extremely anxious. I was getting rushes through my body like I was about to fall, but I didn't. Something was off. And it was that way for multiple months. Eventually, I thought something was wrong with my inner ear, so I had my doctor look there. He thought it was my headphones because I told him, yeah, I've been wearing headphones really every day since sophomore year of high school with my Turtle Beaches, you know, playing game battles and all that stuff. And then eventually just podcasting, video editing, all that stuff. You just got to have your headphones on. And so he told me to start taking them off, and that was because I was starting to get shooting pains in my ears. And eventually, with that and a mouth guard at night, that went away, but still the balance issues persisted. And so finally I made my way to an ENT, got no answers one place, went to another ENT who was a balance specialist, and they finally started to give me some semblance of an idea. They thought I had vestibular migraines, but for those who have migraines, you already know the drill here. To make sure you don't have migraines, you don't necessarily get what's called a migraine test. You line up and knock down everything conceivable around it. That's how you find out if you have migraines. So brain MRI was already needed, but I also had to go through 3 hellish balance tests. And yeah, so the MRI fortunately came back clean. That was a big thing hanging over my head, but I had to wait months for results on that because the first time I went in the MRI tunnel, I learned very quickly, oh, I am not built for this. I am not built for this with the head cage and everything. Oh, no. So I noped out of that one because one of my balance tests actually definitely unlocked a sense of claustrophobia within me. So you had to do 3 balance tests to test different parts of your ear and see if I had like some type of balance issue and if it wasn't vestibular migraines. And so what they did was they put up pretty much VR goggles on my face. So think of that in the terms of weight and bulk. Wires draping all over me and my chest. And I had to track this little laser inside the goggles while wearing a mask. And then I had to do it while laying on my back, and they took an air compressor and blew really loud, cold air straight into my ear, which rattles your cage and makes you extremely dizzy. So while I'm laying there in the dark, just staring at this dot, I literally feel the room spinning without spinning at all, like physically. It was the worst imaginable experience. Like, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. And it low-key, like, I don't use this word ever. It low-key traumatized me, though. Like, I couldn't finish the test. I had to get out of there. I had a complete panic attack. It was intense stuff, man. Like, I'm not sugarcoating it. Like, that was one of the worst things I've ever gone through. So the MRI reactivated that. And then so did another test. I had to do a rotary chair test where they lock you in a dark octagonal chamber and they rotate you around while you're strapped to a chair, head strapped in place, to all this stimulate some sort of off-balance feeling. So I couldn't finish all these tests, really. We got partial results and we came back and the doctor was like, all right, so MRI is clear. We got some results here. We still think you have vestibular migraines. Here's some medication. And the way I received the medication was like topiramate, felt very reactionary. And so I was of the school of thought, you know what? This doesn't feel right to me. And so I did some research. We found what's called the migraine elimination diet, which pretty much what I would define is right now, I'm an organic food snob. Like, I have to eat organic foods constantly. I have to eat very specific foods without certain ingredients. Like, look up a migraine elimination diet. It is a laundry list of things you can and can't eat. But I've followed that thing like the damn Bible, and it has been a lifesaver because ever since I've cleaned up my diet, I've gotten a little bit of stability back, a lot of it really. And the main fix, because the triggers for migraines are something quite fierce if you are a gamer. Screens, fluorescent lights if you're a content creator, things that you saw in my old studio. I was underneath, and yeah, it was awful. So I was constantly off balance 24/7. Cleaning up my diet helped me off the screens, but I didn't have a solution on screens. And that's where these bad boys, these Albert Wesker ass glasses, came in clutch. These are Avalux glasses, not a sponsorship. None of this is medical advice, but these have made it where I can do podcasts and I can record videos and edit videos without feeling like my eyes are on fire and that I'm off balance and I'm like tipping over when I'm really not. That was what I was experiencing, and also looking at screens and it's like on a boat and I'm like, okay, can I just steady for a moment? Okay, move the clip there. That's what I was living through these last 10 months, which is just less than ideal and kind of torturous at certain moments. And the good news, the end of an era, as the video says, I have found a sense of peace. And within that peace, throughout all of this big changes in my life going on, for the first time in a stupid long while, I feel content. I feel the H word, happy. Not that I've been super existential, but I've been in an anxious state for a long while because of the fear of what could be wrong with my brain. And I've definitely been in a spot where, I've just been down because I can't live my life. I couldn't exercise properly because I felt like I was going to fall over all the time. Gaming wasn't the escape it was. I couldn't write for my video game. All these things that really were escapes for me that I loved, I still had the swang. I still had the balance issues. There was no getting away from it. And so really the main escape was flipping on the camera and just talking to you all about video games. And so I just thank you all for being here and for being nice. Just know if this video is not a reminder, your kindness goes a long way. Just sometimes reading a comment on how you were really looking forward to my video. It's not to encourage you to just kiss my ass. I can handle getting the smoke. We saw what happened over a month ago. Don't change the way you approach me. But, just reading the occasional comment or message, it goes a long way. We all got to be there for one another. So thank you for being there for me, whether you knew it or not. To be able to stand there on my 2 feet and not feel like, oh, I'm going to fall over. It just not constantly being dizzy. It is a world of a difference. It's not perfect. It's still very slightly there, but compared to where I was about a month ago to now, I actually was walking down the stairs and my fiance was working and she saw me smiling walking down the stairs like I just woke up. Usually me, I'm grumpy when I wake up because I'm tired and I want to sleep. And she was like, why are you smiling? I was like, just in a good mood. Not just because I got Starfield, by the way, truthfully. I know we all want to crack jokes, but I feel like nothing was pulling me out of that state I was in. Nothing except having clarity on my health. It's not fun to go through an invisible illness. I've dealt with anxiety, and that's an invisible illness. My first battle with that, I was like, why do I feel scared about nothing? And so that's why I'm very open about that, and I'll be just as open about this. It's been a battle, but to be at the light at the end of the tunnel and know that maybe I might be able to travel again is a great feeling. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Seriously. I know I say it every video, but thank you for tuning in. Give me some of your time. I know I bit a little bit more off than I should have today, but again, your support did help. Reading the occasional nice comments, seeing people were looking forward to it, gave me a sense of purpose and let me keep fighting on because it was tough. So thank you. Thank you. Even if you didn't know it, it's okay. That just means you're a good person because you were being selfless and nice despite there being any real good reason to be. So thank you. And with that, maybe we should change the outro a little bit. Stay sexy, stay active, stay healthy. I love you all. Peace.